what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy it. This is a bit weird, and it's a bit random, but on Snaps, we've been going through the SEC, every team's SEC schedule, and we break it down. We're like, okay, what are the for sure losses? And then what are the toss-up games? And then, let's say you have like 4 toss-up games, right? Maybe I feel like you go 2-2, and this is what your record will be. Well, we played that game with LSU. And look, I ended up landing at 9-3, like we've kind of always been when we talk about this LSU schedule. But again, I thought about it more, and I keep thinking about it more, and I'm not sure that, because this is also a conversation that I've seen bubbling up in a lot of Tiger circles lately about what the expectations for this season should be, Jake. I mean, here's the deal. I think the schedule is friendly enough, which sounds crazy when you have 10 Power 5 teams on there, 2 Big Ten teams in USC and UCLA. But I think the schedule is friendly enough where actually 10 wins should be the expectation. I don't know that I feel that LSU has the roster to meet that expectation, I think is how I end up at 9-3. But do you just want to go through it? And so we kind of see how I'm arriving at these numbers?
Sure.
Okay, so USC, you got to win, right? I mean, that's a win.
You have to. Yeah.
If you don't win, then that's the biggest symbolic blow against the Kelly era that we've seen thus far, which has been very good on the whole thus far. But if you lose a 5th season opener in a row, which, fair to him would be his 3rd one, but if you lose a 5th opener in a row to a team that is basically you, but with less talent. Like a horrible defense last year, great offense. You both lost Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. You both went and changed over your defensive staff. I think LSU did a slightly better job in terms of getting the bigger names. And I think when you talk about Miller Moss, who knows if he'll start or not, but if you're talking about Miller Moss versus Garrett Nussmeier, I think Garrett Nussmeier is far better, right? So and then somebody sent me a link the other day that if you look at recruiting in the portal, that LSU over the past 4 or 5 years has actually had the 6th or 7th most talented roster in the country. But the point is, I think objectively you have more talent than USC. I think you've got a better quarterback. And I think in answering the defensive questions of last year, you did a better job. There's no excuse not to win this game.
No, I'm with you there. And certainly after the way it's been the last 4 season openers, eventually you'd like to see LSU not start, behind the 8 ball and have to, really rally themselves to try to get 10 wins, which they have the last 2 years, but still the opener's got to be so important to LSU this year. I agree with you. USC and LSU aren't that dissimilar, but I think LSU is more talented.
And you know what's crazy, what's kind of lost in the sauce, and that supports my 10 win thing here, 10 regular season wins, 10-2 is what I'm talking about, is Jake, they've gone 6-2 in the SEC the last 2 years. Generally, when we've covered LSU teams, if you go 6-2, you hit 10 regular season wins. Yeah. It's normally only a 5-3. We're not used to lose. So if you had found a way to beat Florida State either of those years, well, all of a sudden you're 10-2. You're doing the exact thing that we're talking about doing right now. So again, you beat USC. Okay, so USC win, Nichols win, at South Carolina win, UCLA at home win, South Alabama win. So already we're up to 5-0. And here we arrive at what I would call the first toss-up game. Mm-hmm. And that's Ole Miss and Death Valley. Obviously in Oxford last year, you nearly won that game. I do think Ole Miss is going to be very good. I would give them a slight edge in this game, but Death Valley does it's going to be at night. It's going to be insane. That's going to be, Tiger Stadium at its best. So we'll come back to that. So we have our first toss-up game. At Arkansas, win. At Texas A&M, I'm calling that a toss-up game. Agreed?
Yeah, no, I've got both. I've got wins everywhere you had wins. I've got a question mark by Ole Miss. I've got a win by Arkansas. I've got a question mark by A&M.
And then Alabama and Death Valley, I'm willing to call for sure loss. It doesn't mean that I think it's a for sure loss. It is a toss-up game. Don't get me wrong. But if we were to score the odds on it, looking at the history of these two teams, how it normally goes in Death Valley, you would probably say there's like an 80% chance, or at least that's what my brain says, of Alabama winning. And just for the exercise, like if I'm calling A&M a toss-up, I don't think I can call Alabama a toss-up. That would be an upset.
I'm calling Alabama a toss-up.
Okay.
I don't have Alabama as high as some people, and I don't really know where you have them. There's a lot of new there, and when I look at who they have and who they don't have, like I've got question marks about them. Now it's still a toss-up game because it does still have talent from Nick Saban, and I know Kalen DeBoer's taken over, and I think a lot of Kalen DeBoer, but they still have questions. They have questions at marquee positions.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty high on Alabama, but okay, we can call it a toss-up for now. I got it as a loss in my ledger. At Florida, you got to win that, even if it's in the swamp. Doesn't matter. They suck. Vanderbilt win. Oklahoma in Death Valley. Call it a toss-up, but I'm kind of the opposite of the Ole Miss game, or maybe I'm like favoring Ole Miss just slightly. Against Oklahoma, I'm definitely favoring LSU in Death Valley, though I'm still calling it a toss-up.
Yeah, so, I got a question mark by that one.
When I score it, I have one for sure loss. I have, how many is that? 9? No, 8 for sure wins, right? And then I got the three toss-ups. And so it becomes an exercise in, okay, Ole Miss at home, at A&M, Oklahoma at home. You win 2 of those 3, and you go 10-2. And you accomplish your goals, and you make the college football playoff. I don't think that is that crazy to think about, is it? To win 2 of those 3 games? I mean, you should be better than A&M. You should be better than Oklahoma working in Jackson Arnold, an entirely new offensive line. Now, by that point in the season, they'll be seasoned, but still.
I put A&M as a question mark, not because of what the team is, but where that game's being played, and you haven't had success there.
Yeah.
In recent times. Like, it's been since 2016.
So does it all come down to that A&M game?
Right.
Because you
won there?
Since you won in College Station?
Yeah. You lost the 7 overtime game in 18.
Yeah.
I think you...
I don't know what happened in 20. I don't remember.
Well, you lost in 20. Remember, it was like a 20-9 game or something like that. That was when Max Johnson came in. That was like him taking over for Finley in that game.
Vaguely.
And then the year that you were a heavy favorite, you lost because... Was it A-Chain that ran all over you?
Yep.
Yeah, and that ruined the that stopped you from going 7-1 in the SEC that year. Stopped you from having 10 regular season wins.
Yeah, because you finished 10-3 with the bowl win.
Yeah, or 10-4 because you had the SEC championship loss as well. Yeah, that's right. It's been a long time.
So that's why I have a question mark by that one.
So is that the actual game then? Because I think you split. You get one of Oklahoma and Ole Miss at home, right? At least. I'm saying like even like pessimistic. Like you will not lose both those games at home. If you lose both those games at home, that's a bit disastrous. So then the question, so it feels like at A&M may actually be the playoff deciding game when you boil down this schedule. And then obviously if you beat Alabama, all bets are off. You might win the West, right?
Can you tell me what you like about, and this isn't like a rhetorical question, like what do you like about them?
About Alabama?
Yeah.
I like their overall, just a pure talent on the roster, top to bottom. They're still right there with Georgia and Ohio State. I love Jalen Milroe coming back with a second year. I think the biggest leap you take as a player is from year 1 to 2 starting. It just feels like everything slows down so much. Mm-hmm. And now you're going to tell me that Kalen DeBoer is going to be working with that guy and developing him. I love the offensive line and the running backs. I think that. Especially when combined with DeBoer's willingness to run the ball. Like, he got after it at Washington running the ball, and I think that's kind of what Alabama's identity is going to be, especially because they do lack weapons.
Yeah, the running backs the running backs are talented, but they haven't proven it yet.
I know.
Like Justice Haynes is really talented, but
I'm betting they will.
What about
in a Kalen DeBoer system where they want to run the ball 30+ times a game? No, that's what I said. That's the massive weakness. That's the weakness. But I don't think they're going to be built through the air. I think they're going to be built through taking advantage of the rushing attack and Jalen Milroe, and then a very good defense.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan Johnson was key for Washington last year, no question about it. But they did have the 3 receivers that all ended up getting selected in the NFL draft. Jermaine Bernard coming over he was the 4, sometimes the 5 at Washington. He's going to probably be asked to be the number 1 receiver at Alabama, transferring from Washington. Kendrick Law, from Louisiana. It's kind of a tweener running back, receiver guy.
Georgia had garbage weapons last year, and look how good they were. Like I think you
Brock
could still
Bowers
be
and Lab
good.
McConkey.
They win. I mean, they had Brock Bowers for part of the year.
But 7 games.
Yeah.
Lab McConkey's a second-round receiver.
Just
because he's tiny and white.
No. Just look at the numbers. Just look at the numbers.
Wow.
No Georgia receiver had impressive numbers last year. They just did.
Lab missed time too.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. And Georgia did fine. They didn't have any weapons. And yet again, National College Football media is trying to gaslight me into believing in Dominic Lovett and Ra Thomas being dominant.
No, I'm with you on that one.
So I guess my point is, and you know what? You know what is not like a quantifiable thing, but why I think Alabama's going to be really good? Because it's Kalen DeBoer. It's just Kalen DeBoer with more talent than he's ever had.
I agree. You know, I'm a huge fan of Kalen DeBoer. I do want to see what he's like without his partner.
Without Ryan Grubb. I know, for sure. That's a bad breakup.
It's a bad breakup.
It's a bad breakup.
For Alabama.
It's got to hurt
good for the rest of
DeBoer.
the SEC.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, yeah, look, again, if you beat Alabama, then all bets are off. Then we're maybe, talking about, okay, how deep can you go in the playoff? Like, if you beat Alabama, you're definitely making the playoff. I'm just trying to even, I'm always trying to fight against my natural inclination of sunshine pump, except when it comes to Derek Carr. Okay, remember top 12.
Well, no, I mean I'm with you in a lot of these games. I mean, my question marks are Ole Miss, A&M, Alabama, and Oklahoma.
Yeah. Okay, so even if so if you win 2 of those, let's throw Alabama there. Yeah. You win 2, and you lose 2, and you're 10-2.
Now, there's some tough stretches, and you know me, I am big about when the game is played. Not even necessarily all about the opponent. It's when does it fall on your schedule? Because, I mean, T-Bob, you know this as well as anybody, being a player yourself. Like sometimes, like you have a stretch of just boom, boom, and boom, and it's that third game of the team that's not as good as the second and first game that you play, but it's because just the wear and tear of the season. It's the totality of the schedule, and just everything kind of plays a factor into it, and so. There's a stretch, like you get a bye after A&M, which is massive. And it's the Alabama bye. You've had it every year, but where it falls this year is huge. Like if you do beat Alabama, you got to be real careful going to the Swamp the next week. Like no matter how good, bad, whatever they are. And so like that's –
Graham Mertz is a little frisky.
That's a portion of it is Alabama at Florida. Now you do get Vanderbilt, but then Oklahoma, I mean that's three big boys out of your last 4.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So it's going to be that's good perspective. It's going to be a tough fight to finish. And who knows? That Oklahoma game could be the playoff game. How exciting could that be?
It really could.
Last game of the season, you're sitting there at 9 wins. You win and you're in. You lose and you're out. I could see it.
Because the other portion of the schedule, now to start the season, we kind of joke. You got the 2 Big Ten teams. You got a road trip to South Carolina. You don't, oftentimes go there. It's been a long time actually since you've been there, but I like your talent and the roster better than every team you play there.
Yeah.
The good thing for LSU is after South Alabama, you get a bye week and then Ole Miss. And then you get what we think is going to be.
I didn't know you had a bye week.
Then we think you get a bad Arkansas team, even though that's going to be on the road before you have a trip to College Station, and then again bye week Alabama. So you do get a bye probably before the 2 best teams on your schedule, Ole Miss and Alabama.
Yeah, I love LSU's schedule. And I don't know, man. So I guess this is all to say, well, I'm still kind of at 9-3 because I'm trying to push back against my own natural optimism. If you are someone out there demanding 10-2, I don't think you're out of pocket. I don't know if the roster's quite up to it, but I don't think you're out of pocket in terms of what we think the LSU program should be and how it relates to a relatively friendly schedule.